Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice. I'm sorry?
July 13th, 2020.
14.
14.
Oh, the document says 13. Oh, I did say 14 again. Sorry. I
Ready?
think the last update is 13, sorry.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 8, 2020, by the emailing of a copy of said notice to the Asbury Park Press, Tri-Town News, and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 8, 2020, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 8, 2020. The public will be allowed to participate electronically pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127, NJAC 17:27. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to the right. Smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being live streamed and videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Mr. Bonovich?
Present.
Ms. Richmond?
Present.
Mr. Russo?
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Here.
Mayor Berger?
Present. Is there any reason to go into executive session?
Yes, Mayor, there is. We need to discuss matters under litigation, including the Colell lawsuit and the Monmouth Commerce Center. Also, if I could just note quickly for the recorded record, we are having some technology issues right now. We are recording the meeting. However, we're not able to broadcast it live at this point. Since we're going into exec, it'll give them a few minutes to work on that. When we come back out, we'll have to make a determination if we're able to go live at that point.
Thank you.
Okay?
Can we have a motion and second to go into executive, please?
So moved.
I'll second that. Sorry, Tommy.
I'll read the resolution. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of this meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12. And whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 in executive session. Whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of the executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items previously listed, and upon reconvening this public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Okay. I would like to reconvene this meeting. It is 6:06. The executive session minutes from tonight's meeting can be disclosed to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. If we could please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then a moment of silence for all the first responders who have passed and all of the citizens who have passed from COVID. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of June 9, 2020?
Motion to accept the minutes, Mayor.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Report of township officials. Deputy Mayor?
None at this time.
Councilman?
Yeah, I have one.
We know how much work we did on the last couple months during COVID for the parks, but I just want to let everyone know, since July is Park and Recreation Month, I got a list from Justin about, each park and which was included in each park, and I'd like to just share that. Adina Acres Park, we added a new playground, one bay swing unit, benches, a wooden border, and a safety surface. Deerwood Park Lot, the tot lot, we added a new kids playground, toddler seats, swing unit, a whirl spinner, wooden border, and safety surface. Deerwood Purple Park, a 3-bay swing unit, wooden border, and safety surface. It's a lot, right? Soldier Memorial Park, the soccer area, 4-bay swings, kids and toddler seats, a wooden border, and safety surface. Soldier Memorial, the softball field, 3-bay swings, kids and toddler seats, and the safety surface. Pearl Drive Park, a new kids playground, 2-bay swing unit, benches, wooden border, and safety surface. At Pride Park, we had a 3-bay swing unit and a safety surface. Ramtown Manor Park, a new kids playground, 2-bay swing unit, benches, wooden border, and safety surface. Tioga Park, a kids playground, 2-bay swing unit, benches, and wooden border, and safety surface. And finally, Winston Park, a new kids playground unit, 2-bay swing unit, benches, wooden border, and safety surface. And I'd just like to thank the mayor and council. It's been a long time. You
Yeah.
did a good job.
Yes.
And I have to say, I've toured them all, and they did a really great job. The team really did a nice job on every one of the parks.
There's obviously more to be done, right? I mean, there's a lot more to be done.
Yes,
but-
and even on one of the resolutions, Oakland, on the road, we're widening the road, adding some parking spots, so
Yeah.
we gotta get,
Only because I've been at the baseball field, and I know Howell Central is,
Yep.
we haven't talked about it, but I know North, and there's still work to be done, but it's a great start.
yeah.
Councilman?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so the Business Recovery Task Force met twice. In the last, I believe it was 2 weeks ago was the first meeting, and then last week was the second meeting. We are going to have a meeting this week. But by way of a quick update, I got to say, so this is, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of a think tank, very productive, I got to say. I'm very proud of the members and everybody who took part. And thank you, Joe, for playing a huge role in this. So the first thing we kind of thought about was having some kind of, or recommending that the town council formally recommend that businesses perhaps show that they are complying with CDC standards. Because really what we discussed was, what are the reasons people are maybe apprehensive about going to a restaurant or a store? And really, it's they want to know that it's clean. They want to know that the business is using the proper cleaning products, adhering to social distancing, wearing masks, especially when they're cooking food or talking to or their customers. So we thought about maybe having a window sticker that shows the public that they're in compliance with these, the standards that are set out by the CDC, and that is in the works right now, Joe.
May I ask?
Sure.
Who would be responsible for that? Would
Putting
that be
it-
the Department of Health?
Putting out the so basically how, and this is
Not putting out, but validating.
So it's still in the works, but it's more of a recommendation. So businesses, they can, if they would like to, pick up a window sticker here at Town Hall and put it in their window. We'd be supplying the sticker pretty much. We would not be, I guess, Joe, you want to speak as to
Would it be
enforcement? Because
similar to like
yeah.
in New York, when you go to a restaurant in New York, they have A, B, C, D, like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
so
in a grading
It's,
system?
So we
it's
would-
not
we-
like that. So
Yeah.
the genesis of it started with Jeff Bassett, who owns the Chick-fil-A franchise in Howell. And what he has in his store is a placard that says, this is what we do. When our employees come in, we take their temperatures. When our employees come in, they sanitize their hands. We do this, that, and the other thing. We sanitize with bleach. So the idea is that people will sort of utilize that idea at restaurants and demonstrate to the public, yes, you're not walking into this potential area of exposure. We're taking the precautions that the CDC recommends. We're not establishing any protocols of our own because obviously we can't do that. County Board of Health administers the health standards. We just want, as part of the task force's mission to help businesses, to give them something to point out to the public that we're kind of all in this together, and this is what we're doing to keep you safe.
So I think that's really fabulous, but I have one but.
Sure.
People sometimes get laxed. So if you're not like a checkup or somebody goes in to check, then they could still have their sticker but might not be doing the right thing.
So that was discussed, and that's actually a very good point. That was discussed, and I think it came out to the public would hold them accountable. If they're not doing it, I mean,
I think that's a
but-
difficult.
Yeah, so we're looking at
But we're still-
various
it's in the works.
mechanisms
It's in the
because it's something, obviously, there's an honor system involved with it, and we want to be careful. I mean, you're right, we don't want people representing them that they're holding themselves to standards that they aren't. So, like Councilman Russo said, it's something that we're discussing. We're working with the chamber on it, we're working with Mr. Bassett, kind of working amongst ourselves to figure out what's the best way to make this happen. So, it's just one of the ideas that we're putting forward to try and get everybody back on their feet and help out during this whole
explain that way better
pandemic.
than me.
The intent was really, the
Good job.
intent was a reassurance to the public that
Yes.
things are being done. And as we all know, we don't monitor this. We have a Board of Health that does it. And should a complaint come in, it goes to the Board of Health. I think that the standards that businesses use even prior to COVID was maintained by the Board of Health. And if not, then the public was quick to call and make sure that it was. So we're trying to reassure the public. And Chick-fil-A has put this sign in their doorway, and the feeling was that people will feel better if they know that the extra measures, or that the measures that should be taken are being taken. So actually, Mr. Bassett offered to finance the stickers, so there's no money from township. Then there was a big discussion on how would people get stickers and that type of thing. But
Still
this
being-
is still
yeah.
cost-free to the township. It's almost a matter of goodwill.
And again, these are still ideas that are
It's a
still in the
fabulous idea. That's
early.
why
Thank
I'm-
you, Mayor.
So,
Yeah, and I think that the chamber is stepping up and helping a lot too,
Yeah.
because I think that they're going to be the ones actually getting the stickers and probably distributing them and things like
Yes.
that. So there are some moving parts, but we're kind of working through them as quickly as we can.
I got a couple more. So another issue that we've been having is, or we noticed that businesses are having, and managers and owners of businesses, is there's so much information coming out, and it's always changing, right? There's information that's constantly, changing rapidly. And I did speak to Councilman Bonovich, who did offer to help create with the task force, a pamphlet or an information guide that allows, that really for business owners and managers, that lets you know what grants are available, what programs are available, if they even they can apply. And so we're going to link back up, I think, this week.
yeah, I was
And,
gonna say, what day of the week is your next meeting? Because
Thursday.
Thursday at
this coming week?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
All right, because there is actually, you said it changes daily, and this Thursday, this Thursday, yeah, I know, this Thursday, the legislature's they're gonna add an additional $30 million to restaurants and bars,
So
so.
it'll change again.
Yeah, so this is going to be a PDF that is going to have to be changed on the fly. It's going to have to be easily amendable. So we were thinking about print, but when you print it, there's new information. It's already gone. So
Yeah, I think you're right. We'll probably end up doing something electronic, either
Yeah.
and
Google Doc.
disseminating through the chamber
Exactly.
and however else we can, because it is going to need to be updated a lot.
Tommy, may I?
sure.
Oh.
Oh,
No, I was waiting, I didn't know if Councilman Bonovich.
No, I
Oh.
started my bullets for Tommy.
I remember when we first started talking about this, code enforcement was going to go, I say door knocking and business to business with packets. Have we started that?
They haven't been able to.
Okay.
With the things constantly changing,
Yeah.
with businesses reopening.
Right.
There were different inspections that
Okay.
they were doing, so that
Just
did not
curious.
occur.
All right, thank you.
so with gyms, I'm very proud of the task force. So as we discussed, and as Joe pointed out at the last meeting, our outdoor retail ordinance may apply to gyms. A lot of the gyms in Howell didn't know this. They weren't aware. So the task force reached out, and Matt Howard reached out to all of our gyms in Howell Township, made them aware of what they can do in terms of taking advantage of our outdoor ordinance, and some have complied. Some have signed up. They got approved, I believe it was within 24 hours.
Yeah,
You want to take it, yeah.
yeah, Matt's been great. I mean,
Excellent.
everybody that applies gets an almost instantaneous answer. I mean, the whole purpose, when we passed all of it, as everybody knows, was that we wanted to be really nimble, and we wanted to be able to get businesses up and running, and we wanted to be as broad as possible. So between some of the executive orders about outdoor gathering, when read in light of our outdoor retail ordinance, we're kind of looking at as many different businesses as we can, and we're trying to help as much as we can. And Matt's been absolutely fantastic in terms of getting
Absolutely.
the
I do have
permits
a
out the
question
door.
about that. So I remember, it may have been the mayor, we talked about being allowed to use parks and open space for those restaurants who don't have
Enough area.
enough area or safe area. And I remember I was speaking to a worker at CKO, and they're really tight for space, right? So I know Capricci's also being able to outdoor dine. They can't use the backyard, the back driving space, because it was a fire zone. And I did mention to her, and I told her I would get her information, but for those places who don't have that space, they can take their activities to one of our parks? Is that something that I thought I heard somewhere?
So, do you want to, I mean, it's.
Yes, it is allowed, but
Yes.
we need to figure out a policy how that's going to be handled.
Okay, okay.
Especially a gym with a high likelihood
Theirs
of
is
an
more of a
injury.
fitness center. I'm just saying for that specific one, because most of the big box gyms, they have the
Liability.
parking lot. But the little fitness centers, they don't have the space. And I know the specific one, they go off to the side by Jewelry Link. And no offense, but there's stuff out there that they really don't want to be working in the grass with. But, and I just said I had heard it being mentioned that it was being utilized to an extension of property, even if it's off their property, off premises. I just wasn't sure. I hadn't heard any more about it, and I would like to be able to tell those smaller gyms who are in a busy parking lot and who don't have the space that they could take a class to one of our parks.
I mean, I could tell you there's probably liability issues.
There probably is, but it's not an instant no for them.
Okay.
It's something like they should reach out to Matt, and we will put
That's
our
what I had
heads
told them.
together,
Okay.
and if we can make it happen, we'll make it happen.
Great.
I know one of the biggest issues, I'm sorry, was the tents. Like if they were putting tents up, or if they needed electric. I know there was an issue with that the electricity had to be done.
Yeah, electric's pretty much,
license.
that's going to end up being sort of a showstopper in
Yeah.
some ways, because it is. I mean, it's electricity, so by its nature, it can be dangerous.
Sorry.
All right, I would just add into that, I would love to allow all these smaller gyms, but then we would also need Matt Howard to be in touch with Paul Novello, like, what if they're mowing that park that day?
Yeah, there's certainly, there's a lot of coordination that has to happen, and that's something too. So, you know, and Matt's really good about that, and Paul's really
That could
good.
be part of the routine, avoid the mower.
Yeah. We'll
And
get
other
there,
stuff that's
we'll give them a push mower, and our DPW guys get exercise.
So just to conclude, I just want to thank Matt Howard, and I want to thank the task force for helping out with this. Gyms are now operating in Howell that weren't operating before, and it's because of our hard work and and input. So thank you very much for that. And to gyms that are not, or do not maybe know about it, or maybe didn't get the memo, reach out to Matt Howard, and he will work with you best he can. That's all I have for now, Mayor.
Thank you.
I just have one thing. So there is an 8-year-old young boy, Jamison Green. He lives here in Howell, and he was all over the news yesterday and today. He created a T-shirt, designed his own T-shirt, and it was Unite the World. And it included a world and Black Lives Matter and police, and it was beautiful. He's 8, he's from Howell. I think he deserves a big round of applause from everyone, and I think they're selling T-shirts. His mom has, we're not Facebook friends, I don't know her, I saw it, I thought it was a great thing. I think more people should learn from this 8-year-old boy here in Howell, and his parents should be proud, so just check the mom's page, or check Channel 12 News, he was all over it, so congratulations, good job.
Very nice. Do we have any reports?
Yes, Mayor.
Please.
Few quick things. The Monmouth County CARES Grant, we had applied for the first round. We were awarded our full reimbursement request in the amount of $300,873.
Very nice.
88 cents.
Very nice.
Check was received and deposited last week.
Nice.
Additionally, the CDC Foundation grant, we've received an initial payment from them of $150,000.
Excellent.
Just received late last Friday. So on the agenda tonight is the Chapter 159 insertion. Hopefully that'll be approved and we can begin spending that money. Old Tavern Road, I know there's been a lot of complaints, the water company doing their water main project there. Engineering did contact them about the quality of their temporary paving job. From what I was told, they went out and improved it, but it's still in need of work. Additionally, on tonight's agenda is a contract for us to have a vendor go out for curbing and aprons, that kind of thing. As soon as that's done and their water company's work is settled, they will do final paving in that area.
So I've seen cars that are, I guess it's on the eastbound side,
Okay.
that the work was done, and cars are driving in the opposite lane, and they're driving on the edge, and there were people crossing the street, and they were still kind of, so it looked like it was going to be a dangerous scenario.
Yeah, I've had engineering in contact with
Yeah.
the water company about correcting that. Next, the farmer's market. We've received a ton of public comments on the issue over the music. To make it extremely clear, there's no intention to shut down the farmer's market. There was no intention to not have music. However, it does need to be done the proper way. The way this went about this past weekend, certain individuals that oversee the market put Howell taxpayers at risk, quite frankly. Potential lawsuits. They were told specifically that music was not approved for this weekend. Let's come up with a plan so we can do it the right way for the future. That was intentionally ignored, and they went and had music anyway. Joe Clark happened to be at the market and spoke to representatives, and they wound up shutting the music down. But we have numerous public comments about it. Apparently, there was a social media campaign about this, saying that the town is trying to shut it down, or we're not trying to have music, both of which are absolutely false. So, finally, we are hosting a shredding event with Monmouth County. It'll be July 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Adelphia School. I'm sure a lot of people have been doing some house cleaning and have some paperwork to get rid of. And that is all I have.
Thank you, sir.
May I?
Sure.
I didn't have a report because I was going to request that, Brian, where are we with the energy savings program that the schools have implemented?
There's been no progress in the last few months.
I mean, I've
We
been
haven't been able
asking
to
for
have
this for
meetings
about a
or-
year and a half, so I'll give the COVID, a wave, but, I've been really asking about this for quite some time, so can you set a meeting up with Mr. Sanasak in the next 72 hours and get the information from him, and let's see what we can do to save some money in this town?
Okay.
Thank you.
Joe?
So I'm going to do a quick update to sort of amplify what Brian was saying about music at the market. And I just want to explain, because the public doesn't really know what happened. I mean, I can tell by reading the Facebook posts and comments. So let me explain why it was an issue, because there's a couple things that happened. And I'll do it very briefly. First, music was presented. The idea of music has been discussed. I've been working with the association for a while. We've always sort of had it in the back of our heads that it would be a nice addition for the market. Fast forward to July 2nd, the market's up and running. We're getting ready for the weekend. One of the representatives of the Farmers Market Association reaches out and tells us, well, I have a friend who is a friend who is a musician and would like to play at the market. Is that okay? Just looking at the surface of it, there's no red flags. We say, okay, we'll get that squared away. Fast forward to July 8th, when it's time to start getting ready for it, we find out that one of the, and it's not entirely clear at that point what the role was, whether it was to play in the band, whether it was to sponsor the band by paying the band, whether it was to speak at the event, whether it was to do anything. But one of the candidates for office in Howell at the time was involved with it. It's a red flag to me as a township attorney for a couple reasons. First, we have a responsibility, and I don't know what the outer bounds of it are in terms of us appearing to tacitly endorse any candidate. But more importantly, the real important part is that we don't want to turn our property into an open speech forum. So we want to be able to control what happens on our property. And if we were to allow it to go forward, you know, there's a chance then that not only the things that we like to hear can be said on our property, but the things that we don't like to hear, and guess what? We can't stop it. So I reached out to this representative and I said, in light of this, if you want to do this, then you can let me know why under the law this is permissible and how it's not going to affect the township's rights. And, you know, there's just not enough time to do this before Sunday, market day. So why don't we forego music for the week? So one point that's been said on social media was that it was the township manager's idea to shut down the music. It wasn't. It was mine initially. And I told them that in no uncertain terms, we should just forego music and look at these issues, and we'll circle back up and we'll try again. Then it came out that perhaps there'd be some other alternative, and that's when the township manager said, well, we have a lot of logistics that we have to think of, and so let's not do music this Sunday, and we'll circle up and we'll talk about the issues. Fast forward to Sunday. I go to the market to get produce. There's a musician playing, and I'm told that he showed up that morning and that the representatives of the Farmers Market Association there made the game time decision, despite knowing that they shouldn't have music, to go ahead and let the music play. So obviously, as a township attorney and obviously as a township manager, we have concerns and we need to protect the town. One of the things that happens, let's set aside the whole political candidate free speech thing. Any artist playing music typically needs a license to play that. You play a cover. So if we allow that to happen, then we're exposed to lawsuits from ASCAP, BMI, all these other music licensing companies. So that's what really the ire of the township was about, was because now all of a sudden, people who may not be aware of these issues went ahead and allowed the township to be exposed to it, and our license agreement with the association is very clear that we're supposed to cooperate and they're supposed to be compliant with all federal, state, and local laws. And at that time, it just felt like it wasn't happening. And so I think, you know, based on what the manager was saying now, the idea of having music has always been on the table. The idea of doing it right was sort of skirted, or it wasn't done as well as it could have been. We can always do better. We'll work with the association. I mean, my inclination was to recommend we terminate the agreement or to not let the market go forward, but I think everybody up here has made it clear that they want that to happen. So I just think that we need to get some very firm ground rules in place so that we don't have people, for whatever reason, doing something other than what the township wants them to do on the property. So it's my long-winded way of saying what happened.
And thank you, Mr. Clark. We really, I really do want the market to go forward. It's been a long time trying to pull it together, and before it was even successful this time. Years ago, we tried to put something together. So I appreciate you taking the extra effort to iron out any issues and to make sure that we can go forward with the market. So thank you.
I would say, Joe, you know, let's button it up. Let's look at it. Let's see what ASCAP, see what it is, and let's roll forward. I don't want to be Howell, you know, the next movie, like the next Footloose. So
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. Yeah, it's a great addition. It was really nice, actually, but we just need to make sure that we're protected, and that's what we'll do. So
We all agree, yes.
yeah.
Okay. At this point, I would like to open up for the hearing of citizens and public comment on the consent agenda.
Okay. I have a
Are you going
lot.
to be reading till tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to be going right through these. If you want to comment, just please interrupt me and I'll
Did you
pause, but-
did you group them together? Like,
Literally, we've had half a dozen more come in the last 10 minutes, so.
oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I say this, sorry, I say this all the time, and I'll say it again. It's public comment. It's not a question and answer session, so, you know, there's a lot of them, multiple pages.
Many. Okay, to begin, we, first is Dawn Van Brunt, resident, email. submitted by email. Hello, hope everyone is doing well during these uncertain times and staying healthy and safe. Where are we regarding Monmouth Commerce Center? As the founder of Hope and an objector to the project, I have a lot of unhappy residents reaching out to me for what to do and our next steps. Do we have an anticipated trial date? Is Howell planning to try and settle this matter out of court? What involvement does Howell want from our residents?
I'm sorry, my husband just said that the live stream is down and that everything is frozen.
Okay,
So I'm just,
we will pause momentarily then. Let me check with IT.
sorry. Oh, it just went back on.
Okay.
Yeah, right, read quickly.
Again, continuing with Ms. Van Brunt. Number 2, the waste transfer station on Randolph. I have been watching the SWAC and the DRC. Have not seen anything since January 16th, and the next few SWAC meetings have been canceled. Has there been any communication regarding the project moving forward? The land sure has shown a substantial amount of material movement in the past 6 months. As we already are well aware, these 2 projects pose substantial risks, and we must remain vigilant as a council and a community. Thank you so much, Dawn Van Brunt.
Is there any movement on those 2 projects?
Well, Monmouth Commerce Center, that's pending litigation, so,
Yeah, I'll just briefly to answer. We don't have an anticipated trial date. I cannot discuss whether or not, what our strategy is in terms of dealing with the matter and in terms of what involvement we want from our residents right now. We have our attorneys handling it, and we will keep everybody updated.
and regarding the waste transfer station, I've had no communications on that. Next is from John, I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Okay. Next is from John Hughes, 217 Midland Boulevard, resident submitted by email. I would like more information on the following issues. What is the status of Councilman Russo's nomination of Robert Nicastro to serve on the Manasquan River Regional Sewer Authority? If Robert Nicastro is still nominated, is he still on the planning board? Is Robert Nicastro still the vice chairman of the Monmouth County Republican Party? 2, what is the status of the road work on Old Tavern Road? Road's in terrible shape and was only recently redone. Is it going to be fixed? Was there any warranty for the work? Thank you for your attention to the issues. John Hughes, 217 Midland Boulevard. Andre DeGarmo, resident, submitted email. Good afternoon. I'm following up from my May 19th initial request on the status of the site. Resource Engineering, 34 Randolph Road, Block 5, Lot 4. I believe Brian had said the DEP would be the oversight because this is considered a Class B recycling site. Have they come to have a look? And if so, what have they learned? The amount of product being stored continues to grow. He had attached some photos, I believe. There's none here. Have the taxes been brought current? What is the maximum cubic yards allowed for the site? Did we ever learn how the Verizon-owned utility pole was knocked down, causing a power outage to the area? I was in communication with him after his last correspondence. I forwarded his complaints to code enforcement. They went out. There's no violations that they could enforce, but a lot of the issues identified are under DEP. So our code enforcement had referred to them. We have not heard back any reports from them for their follow-up. And as far as the poll, I tried checking into this with the police department, and we didn't come up with any information about it.
Hey, Brian, I
Yes.
thought you referred that to Matt, correct? And then Matt, didn't he say you had the county look into it as well? Or no?
Yeah, he forwarded it up.
Okay.
to-
Because you
it
said
goes-
DEP, you said DEP, so I was like,
I think it funnels through the
Okay.
county to them
Okay.
ultimately. Thank you for your time and attention, Andre. Next, Paul Dorado, resident, submitted email. Good afternoon. I had questions for Councilwoman Richmond. You had previously mentioned that you are an educational professional. What exactly is your job description? What school system do you currently work for? Do you have a degree or any state certifications? Thank you in advance. Paul Dorado, 27 Firestone Drive, Howell, New Jersey. Next, we have Barbara Dixell. For the mayor and council, public comment. Jim Herman is the Director of Community Development for Howell Township. I see that he also sits on the Farmingdale, New Jersey Planning and Zoning Board. Is it possible that the planning and zoning decisions he makes for Howell can carry over to affect the decisions he makes for Farmingdale, as he sits on the Farmingdale Planning Zoning Board? Can Jim Herman hold an official government position in Howell as a paid employee as the head of community development, at the same time hold an official appointed government position in another town and in another municipality, making official decisions while sitting on their planning and zoning board? Isn't this an absolute conflict? Can his decisions both in Farmingdale and Howell cause major zoning, planning, and development conflicts for applicants, lawyers, and residents? Is this the same thing as Nick Castro being told that he cannot sit on the Howell Planning Board and be appointed to another job to take Steve Johnson's MRSA position? Continuing with Barbara Dixell. Question for Councilwoman Richmond. I always hear you say you're an educator in Howell. You are always in the classroom. Are you a licensed teacher with a degree? What is your job description? Where are you employed? Moving on. Karen Widmer, resident, submitted by email. Hello, I have lived in this town for the past 32 years. My husband was born and raised here and lived his entire life. We are also vendors at the Howell Farmers Market. When I first heard that there was going to be a market right here on Route 9 in Howell, I was extremely excited. We never dreamed that we would be a vendor there, but as a resident, I thought it would definitely add to our experience of thoroughly enjoying our town. Once COVID-19 hit our area, we have been sheltering in place in my home since March, making masks for frontline workers and medical staff. What started out as a donation idea quickly became a much sought-after item within our community. Before I knew it, we became a vendor at the same market I was so excited to shop at. Doing so came with much anxiety about going back out, the safety of my home and into the public. When I heard there was going to be music at the market, I thought it was an amazing idea. This past Sunday was the best day at the market so far, both in revenue and the overall mood and feeling of being out there. It created an atmosphere of calm, community, and happiness. To eliminate this would not only be a shame, but could drastically change that feeling back to that of a town on shutdown. It is time to think about what the residents of the town want and not about your power or political preference or affiliation. We have remained in Howell our entire lives because we love it here, but over the years it is becoming unrecognizable. Politics has taken over love of community. Please keep the music at the market, as it is one of the few things the residents of this town have to look forward to at the moment. Thank you, Karen Widmer. Next, Kathleen Cohan, resident, submitted by email. Just a quick note to say I was pleasantly surprised to see a musician at the past week's market on Route 9. I go most Sundays and enjoyed the mellow music. I heard he volunteered. What a nice upgrade to the market, and the price was right. I bet there are lots of underutilized artists during this COVID-19 time that would be happy to keep busy. Keep them coming, I say. Kathleen Cohan. Next, Margaret A. Howell, resident, submitted email. I was upset to see on Facebook that you were considering closing down the Howell Township Farmers Market due to a one-man band playing for 2 hours. I was at the farmers market and it was very enjoyable. The music was well received by everyone. The music was just a nice touch. People that go to the farmers market enjoy it as a Sunday outing. I have bought my produce and garden plants since the opening. I feel I am helping our local farmers and small businesses by making purchases there. At the time of this uncertainty, it would be wrong of you to close this down if that is your intention. The people want it and love it. Keep politics out of letting families, vendors trying to earn money. Please let the people have one nice thing in Howell for a change without politics getting in the middle of it. Thank you, Margaret A. Howell. Next is Dorothy and Mike Turner, residents, submitted by email. Good morning. As a farmer and Howell Township resident, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Joan Osborne and the other members of the Howell Township Market Committee and the Howell Township Committee members for making this market possible. In this time of uncertainty and guardedness, it is important to provide the community a sense of togetherness and caring in the form of fresh foods at reasonable prices for health and emotional well-being. Items provided by the diverse vendors are also important, as many residents at this time are not comfortable with in-store shopping if there is a store open. Farmers markets have long been a source for affordable foods and miscellaneous items that may be unattainable otherwise. They are just good for the economy. With so many people that have found themselves with limited income, providing these needs by supporting this growing market can be an example of a tribute to good community leadership. Thank you again for your hard work and support. Dorothy and Mike Turner, The Farm. Okay. Continuing on, this is from an anonymous person submitted by email. Good evening, Council and Mayor. I live over in the Winston Park area of town, and I have questions, comments for tonight's meeting. When is the first debate of the mayoral council candidates? Pause for answer. In light of current events, I'm sorry?
I said, of course, that was anonymous.
Did you want to respond, or?
No.
Okay. In light of current events, there will be a proclamation read into the, will there be a proclamation read into the record denouncing former mayor and current head of the town GOP, Joe DiBella, for his past racist-like tweets he has made? Let the record show his Twitter was not hacked years ago when it was brought up as he was part of the Brookdale Community College. Pauses for answer. Will the township make amends to its current personal conduct policy for elected officials using Facebook or any other social media platform? Only reason I am saying this, there has been done real nasty comments from some of the council members to the mayor, particularly those who sit on the immediate left and right of the mayor. I'm all for free speech, but when you call her names, question her medical license behind her back, and other nasty stuff, that sounds like backstabbing, unprofessional, and really petty. Pauses for comment. Any word on when you will fix Hilltop Road for paving? That is the road located off Route 9 near the post office, and it is nothing but a bumpy ride on the road. Pauses for answer. Comments from council on Howell High School's changing of the mascot. Pauses for comment. Status for Howell Day 2020. Pauses for answers, comments. Please update township website with more professional updated photos of the council. Councilwoman Richmond does not look like her photo on the website. At the last meeting, you said anything sent to the council for meetings must be read into the record. Here's something that could be answered. How did former Councilwoman Pauline Smith's husband, Don, publicly call former Mayor Bob Walsh an ass at a meeting many years ago? It's on YouTube, and thus no repercussions were directed at him. Meanwhile, at an infamous October council meeting regarding affordable housing years ago, if anyone said anything like that, they'd be thrown out of the meeting. Thank you and have a nice day.
Hey, Bri?
Yes.
In regards to Howell Day, I think we were talking about September 24th, correct?
That date was set a long time ago.
Yes, and then I think that was set because of like, I don't know, there was some kind of retreat for the firemen or something like that on the 12th?
It seems like every weekend in the fall, there's different events going on.
I
that
think
would
that's
impact it.
canceled, so we might have the option of the 12th or the 24th of September. That's just,
All right,
that's all.
thank you. Next comment from Jessica Brown regarding Turpack Road. I'm a new resident of 208 Turpack Road in Howell. I was wondering if the planned proposed development that is set to be built to the north of the dead-end road on Turpack Road was going to have an access point on Turpack Road. Will the north end of Turpack Road have an entrance exit to the proposed development, i.e. will the dead end be taken away? Thanks, Jessica Brown. Sure. If you
So I'll give everybody a quick update on Turpack. As we know, there's been some controversy about the addition of more parcels into the sewer service area. We've reached out to Turpack Road's attorneys to confirm whether or not there is intended to be development on those parcels. We have again been informed that they are not intended for development. They're going to be used for ingress and egress. So we are working with them to amend the developer's agreement to ensure that that is clear in there, and we expect to have a draft within the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Next is from Tina Smilek. At the May 19th meeting, by a vote of 3-2, council appointed Rob Nicastro to MRSA. At that time, it was said he would have to waive his salary back to the town, and he would have to resign from the planning board. I see as of July 5th, 2020, Mr. Nicastro updated his financial disclosure by adding MRSA and noting his Howell Planning Board term ended on May 31, 2020. Has a resignation been submitted, and why wasn't it mentioned at a council meeting? as he is still an officer of a political party, how does waiving of the salary work? You want to address anything?
So, when his appointment originally came up, I had looked into it and I had found a case that, in my opinion, had controlled the situation and indicated that a Class 4 member of the planning board could not also be simultaneously appointed to MRSA. That's what I said at the time. So, before Mr. Nicastro took his seat, I reached out to the attorney for MRSA because, as it happens, the chairman of the planning board in Freehold Township, who is also a Class 4 member of that planning board, is the chairman of MRSA. And I don't, under my interpretation of it, I didn't understand how that could happen. So I wrote to them, and I was told by the lawyer for MRSA that because the utilities law is different from the sewerage law, his interpretation was that there is not the conflict that existed in the lawsuit that I had referred to, and that as a result, a Class 4 planning board member, like the gentleman from Freehold Township, could also be seated in MRSA. And so, based on that representation from MRSA's attorney, who is unlikely to take the risk that MRSA's actions are void out of the gate, I am reconsidering whether or not it's appropriate for Mr. Nicastro to be appointed. And as a result, based on that advice, I don't see that there is an issue. So, if MRSA's actions are challenged as a result, well then, we'll certainly be looking to amend the situation, and I suspect Freehold Township will be as well. But for right now, and again, based on the advice of MRSA's counsel, it looks as if the appointment's appropriate.
Continuing with Tina Smilek. Number 2, has Walters Group started to take applications yet? I still have not seen any information released by the town or the builder, so how our residents can apply. Please do not say you hid the info somewhere under some department that people will never know how to find. If Howell taxpayers are paying the pilot on this, I urge you to get this information out to residents that might need it. And has this info been shared with our veteran services who may have veterans in need? We were told that they would have preference, and how are people affected by Hurricane Sandy made aware? A lot of Sandy funding went into this project. Number 3, May 19th, O-20-10. This ordinance was removed from the agenda due to Deputy Mayor O'Donnell wanting an updated assessed value of the property due to the current one being 2 years old. Has another appraisal been completed yet? If so, was it appraised for, and what is the difference? How much did the appraisal cost? I took some time to organize the info for you on the properties you purchased and tabled so you can clearly see what you voted on. Once again, it seems some council vote without knowing what they are voting on. Council approved Ordinance O-20-8 for United Telemedical Academy with no signed contract for $1,150,000. This property was appraised on July 12th, 2019 for $1,150,000, and again appraised on November 7th, 2019 for $945,000. Has an agreement been signed on this property, and if so, when and for how much? Yet no one questioned this. Council approved Ordinance O-20-9, New Beginnings Christian Fellowship, that had a signed contract dated November 21, 2019 for $450,000. The property was appraised on March 25th, 2019 for $350,000, and also appraised on March 29th, 2019 for $400,000. Purchase price is $50,000 to $100,000 over appraised value, yet council never questioned this. Council approved Ordinance O-19-32 Van Schoik property with a signed contract for $10,800. This property was appraised on January 22, 2019 for $10,800. Property is 4 acres and 85% wetlands. Appraisal was 1 year and 5 months old at the time of meeting, and no one questioned this. Council tabled Ordinance O-19-31, the Burger Wynn property, which has a signed contract dated June 2nd, 2019 for $47,600, 6 months after the signed Van Schoik property contract. The contract was signed by Deputy Mayor O'Donnell, who asked to table this for a new appraisal. Property was appraised on September 28, 2018 for $47,600. Property was 13.59 acres and contained 62% wetlands, still plenty of property to build 2 houses on it in the ARE 6 zone, which would garner the family a much better profit than selling it to the town for conservation and open space. The appraisal was 1 year, 7.5 months old, only 2.5 months older than the Van Schoik property, yet this property was questioned. If at any time you would have taken just an hour to sit down with all the contracts and write out this info, as I just did, you would have been able to explain to any resident that questioned the purchase of the Burgerwind property how the acquisition is beneficial to Howell to maintain open space as part of the Bear Swamp conservation. But why explain this during an election year when you want to try and make the mayor look bad? Mayor Berger, would you please thank your family for choosing to protect our open space and wildlife in that area instead of? When will August tax bills go out? Could you please explain how this will be estimated, and will we receive a new tax bill before the November 1 payment with the actual payments? To answer that, yes, we are sending out actual tax bills shortly. The deadline will be from the postmark date. It was the tax collector and our CFO's recommendation to hold off on sending out an estimated tax bill, as they were under the impression, or they felt that we were going to get the actual rates certified from the county, which we did just receive. So actual bills will be going out shortly. I would like to see the meetings open back up to the public. There's plenty of room to social distance. You can make in person by reservation to keep the allotted number. Also continue to allow electronic communication so people can be part of the meeting however they are most comfortable. I put in a request 2 days ago to be able to be present at the meeting with no response. It's very difficult to explain a question or comment when someone misinterprets it and the answer they give is not exactly what you are asking. At the last meeting, the budget was approved unanimously. It included the hires of more police officers and was stated at this time we have less police officers than just last year due to retirements. I've not seen any notices to go out to start hiring. I've asked the chief for an update, but he hasn't gotten back to me as of yet. I know how busy they are lately during these crazy times. When will these officers be hired? Has the chief been given permission to start the process? Now more than ever, we need to show our support to our officers. Please tell me we are on track of hiring new officers and changing the ordinance that was requested during the budget hearings. Council, I urge you to keep on top of this if it has not been done already. 7, music at the farmers market. What a mess. To be clear, there are 4 council members that have been at the farmers market meetings and supporting the market. Mayor Berger, Deputy Mayor O'Donnell, Councilman Bonovich, and Councilman Russo. The liaison to the farmers market is the township lawyer, Joe Clark. The committee has been discussing live music since at least January 2020 with full support. From what I am reading in emails, all was good to go from everyone until an email went to the DPW director about power, who must have informed the manager. Once the manager was informed and found out the person sponsoring the music was Andre DeGarmo, Howell resident and small business owner of Highland Kennels, who was running for council in November, he quickly shut it down, saying due to him being a candidate. When it was explained that this was not being done from candidate Andre DeGarmo, but from resident and Howell small business owner Andre DeGarmo, it did not matter. Questions were asked if market vendor's family member could provide music, and no response from the township. Under the impression the manager gave, this had to do with politics, not live music, and with no response to questions from the manager, the farmers market continued with the person who had no connections with politics. Well, I guess the manager was not happy with that and said it could now affect if the farmers market could continue. The chairperson for the farmers market from the beginning said no one-sided politics when a party wanted to purchase a banner. Honestly, I'm tired of the partisan politics at the dais by certain council members, and I am more tired of the politics play by this manager who doesn't even live in Howell. If there were legal issues, why wasn't this brought up at a prior meeting from the township attorney or any council members who were fully aware? There are now sponsors from both parties that want to help. This is about our small businesses in a time where they need our support. This past Sunday was one of the best markets yet, and many compliments on the music. Situation was totally avoidable. This is a bipartisan project that past council has not been able to make come to fruition. There are many volunteers and people who work hard on this, and this type of shenanigans is shameful to every resident. Please straighten this out and put Howell before your politics. Once again, a lot of our statements are completely inaccurate. What projects is Dasty, Murphy, McGuckin, Ulaki, Kustoris, and Connors working on that they need to exceed their limit? What does special counsel do? Is council aware of the pay-to-play lawsuit that was issued against Tom's River Council? And this law firm last week. In reading news, it says, according to New Jersey Election Commission, McGuckin donated $1,650 to Tom's River Councilman Kevin Gagan, among other council members. As this is your town manager's brother, what safeguards are put in place to make sure Howell is not dragged into this? Who approves the bills and the bill list for the vendor? It seems Ocean County has a lot of issues with law firms. It was not long ago approved George Gilmore's law firm, who was sentenced for tax fraud. Is there any reason why we cannot hire vendors, at least in Monmouth County, if not Howell? 9A23, where RFPs reviewed for this also, was the lowest bidder the winner? Yes. And she submitted comments for ordinances 10.1 and 10.2. This ordinance was created last year. The original ordinances required those who built on property to be responsible for sidewalks or pay money to our sidewalk fund. Who recommended this change in the ordinance? What current properties are looking to build without sidewalks? Or maybe the better question is, what council member's friend, neighbor, or supporter is looking for an exemption? Please make sure you have all the facts before voting on this. If you are not sure about all the details, please table it until you get the full information. Tired of seeing things come back to bite us, and I'm pretty sure this one is going to. Okay. Submitted from Joan Osborne, Mayor Berger and council members. As president of the Farmers Market Association, I am providing comments about the market, which recently had its 7th weekend of good weather and good turnout. The market has been going well, and we appreciate the support of the township with regard to the promotion and facilitation of the market for the vendors and the residents. We seem to have had a hiccup this week due to the addition of live music at the market, which came about due to a series of assumptions and miscommunications that were unfortunate. Several of us on the association were told that there was an objection to a certain musician playing, and did not learn until Saturday evening that the town manager had determined that our substitute musician was also not approved. Due to various issues, there is no way to halt the gentleman Gary Noakes from appearing on Sunday. So on Sunday, the association made what it thought was a prudent decision for the market and its customers, but one we had hoped would not unduly ruffle some feathers. In hindsight, it may have been short-sighted to have allowed Mr. Noakes to play before the town granted final and firm approval. I realize that it cannot be taken lightly that we reached a decision that the town manager did not agree with. I hope that we can continue to work with the township on our recommendation, or on our communication and our responses, and provide the information that everyone thinks they need to approve or disapprove of additions to the market. The market is a lot of work being done by people who have other jobs, businesses, and interests, which has changes from week to week. We are all volunteers doing our best and learning as we go, so we hope that we can move forward and keep everyone happy with how it is being run. I hope the council will consider encouraging the addition of music to the farmers market. We assure you that we are happy to address any concerns that the township may have, as long as they are communicated to us. Finally, I would like to thank Gary Noakes for the wonderful music. He did a great job, and I only received positive comments about his music and the pleasant, happy atmosphere it brought to the market. Attendance was definitely up again, which made for a good day for the vendors. I have attached a photograph showing how the music was set up, so you can see it was not something that required a lot of planning. Again, I apologize. This is something that has taken up council time. While I think it is ultimately a minor issue, others don't. We are happy to consider their positions. Thank you. There is an email submitted from Mary Johnson. I have a question for the council meeting. It was explained to me that Mayor Berger tried to secretly plan a taxpayer-funded party for the town that would help boost her profile. I also understand that the mayor met illegally with township employees, tried to have local places get liquor approvals, and wanted to spend thousands on this bash. Did Ms. Berger forget that we are in a global pandemic and we have 30 million people unemployed? Did Ms. Berger forget that you don't go throwing a party while people have lost their jobs and can't pay their bills? Did Ms. Berger forget that we should not be using taxpayer money to throw parties to boost her campaign? How did she almost get away with this? This is judgment unbecoming of an elected official. Also, Ms. Berger tries to act like a doctor and give medical advice, albeit she does illegally. Is it a good idea to throw a party when people may not be able to socially distance? Question, has this boondoggle the mayor tried to pull off been stopped? If not, how can she be stopped? Please answer. Thank you, Mary Johnson of Howell, New Jersey. There's a follow-up fax from Ms. Dixell. I want the council to comment on all the messages the Howell manager, sorry, I'm having a hard time reading her handwriting. Howell manager cannot stop comment. As I've said, if anyone wants to comment, feel free to interject. All right. I want my question on Jim Herman addressed Barbara Dixell. And there's one from a James Clark for public participation to the mayor and council. I continue to be disheartened that our mayor is trying to sell undevelopable land her husband owns to the town for $50,000, while her family paid $1 for it. The land is wet and may not be built on. Why are we spending taxpayer money on land that cannot be developed? This is an outrageous use of taxpayer funds and should be stopped. This also does not pass the stink test and seems like one heck of a sweetheart deal for the sitting mayor. Please do the right thing and don't waste our money. Council, please answer, what are you going to do to stop this outrageous cash play? Sincerely, James Clark, Howell, New Jersey. And that is all I have for public comment.
Thank you. May I have a motion for the resolutions, please? Yes. There's 983, there's three out,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
983,
And then the last one, I think.
there's two.
Yeah.
There's 9829.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought there was another one.
There is, but it's under motions.
It's a,
Okay.
it's a motion.
In the resolutions, it's,
Okay, may I have a motion for 9A1 through 9A29 excluding, through 9A28 excluding 29 and 3?
I'll make the motion to move 9A1 through 28, excluding 9A3
3?
and 9A29 and 9B2, right? We're gonna,
Well, yeah, we could do that now or after.
yeah,
it's up to
okay.
you guys. Yeah.
9A1 through 9A28,
Go through the resolutions first.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
Allison.
make the motion for 9A1 through 9A28, excluding 9A3 and 9A29.
I will second that motion as
All right.
Councilman Bonavich just.
All right.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. May I have a separate motion for 9A3?
I'll make a motion to approve 983.
A second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. May I have a motion for 9A29?
I'll make a motion to accept 9829.
I'll second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. me 1 second, I'm sorry. For whatever reason, it's not coming up on there. So the motion is 9B1, a 2020 license renewal coin-operated games for Climb Zone at 5369 US Route 9. Does somebody have the,
It's just a motion. I mean, I see what you're saying. Oh, you need to back up.
I can't make the motion.
Not even attached here.
I don't see it in here.
No, the backup?
Yeah,
For.
91?
Either. Yeah, I don't have it either.
After page 7?
after what? Page 7?
And page 7 in your binder?
So it says the motions, and then it has the, oh, it has it here for Climb Zone. So we need a motion.
Just a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve 9B1.
A second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond? Sorry, Ms. Richmond?
Yes?
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. May I have a motion for 9B.2, appoint planning board alternate one member, unexpired two-year term expiring 12/31/21.
I'd like to make a motion to have Paul Bovai fill that position, as he's been on the planning board in the past and brings all the expertise forward as he has demonstrated in the past. I think he'll be a good fit.
I'll second that motion.
What was the name? What was
Paul
the name?
Bovai.
Okay.
Not
in the
spelled the way you
backup.
think it is, though. Very strange the way it's spelled.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Sure. Ordinance number 0-20-12. Do we have any public comments for these, or we read them before?
They were read into the record before, and there's been no other comments on it
updates.
so far.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So 10.1, amend Chapter 188 Land Use, Article 25, Non-Residential Community Design Standards, Section 225, Streetscape Design Principles, Subsection G, Sidewalks of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Ordinance 0-20-12, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/9/20 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/12/20 is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188 Land Use, Article 25 Non-Residential Community Design Standards, Section 225 Streetscape Design Principles, Subsection G Sidewalks of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
Do we have any comments?
Is there a motion?
We'll have to make comments first, right?
You have to make a motion in a second, then commentary.
Okay. Oh, I thought Evelyn was going to,
But there was no comments.
none of that.
There was none.
Okay.
Did you make the motion?
Just a point of order. There was a motion and a second from council, and then there'll be discussion on this ordinance. Mr. Clark?
Right, so we'll have a motion, we need a second, and then discussion on the motion
Thank
to
you.
approve the ordinance.
Okay, I would make a motion that the ordinance number 0-2012 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the Asbury Park Press, dated July 17th, 2020.
I'll second.
I do have commentary. There are questions about this from public, I realize, and I think in the past, possibly there could have been concerns from council. Again, this has come from a unanimous decision of the Planning Board brought forth by Chief Kudrick. Rest assured that all waivers are still in place and given by Planning and Zoning Board according to the MLUL. All laws still apply. That has always been in effect. After an application is heard, it goes not only to our professionals that are sitting in on that application, but the professionals of the applicant also weigh in. And again, all of the municipal land use laws are always observed. Waivers are given when they are appropriate by either board, and only at that time, and they are never arbitrary. And the ordinance that we put together last year for the sidewalk ordinance, the opinion of the planning board was that it was a detriment to the typical homeowner, for instance, just subdividing a property. This particular case was a farm, or I'm sorry, it was a piece of property on Merrick Road. Anyone here knowing Merrick Road knows that it's incredibly rural, and that a sidewalk would not be applicable in that area. So the entire planning board has brought forth this as an ordinance. I just wanted to be clear that everybody understood that it was unanimous, and that the MLUL is still applied to everything, and no one is getting away with anything. No one is given favoritism. Planning board doesn't have a friend on Merrick Road and decided to give them a sweet deal or whatever is being implied. That is not the case. Thank you.
Why would, I mean, can't we add another layer rather than pass this ordinance? Can put another layer to just remove the requirement of payment into the sidewalk trust fund? I like the sidewalk trust fund, but, you know, like, how many times has this been used in the last year or two?
Twice.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, when this was first brought to us by an employee in land use, there was concern that it would be considered a money grabber type thing for the normal citizen. Never is a business going to be waived on a dangerous road of a sidewalk.
I
mean,
guess my
safety
only
is always
question
paramount.
is why remove the requirement? Why can't we do it one by one?
We do it one by one.
But now
If
we're
somebody
totally
wants a
removing
waiver,
it. We're
they
totally
ask for it.
removing it. All right.
Yeah, so, Joe, I want to make sure I understand this before I vote on this, 100%. Because I started in the planning board, and I remember waivers being requested and us looking at it and us, accepting or denying. So let's play it out, okay? Because I want to make sure I get this. An applicant goes before the planning board and requests a waiver for a sidewalk, right? They have to hire an attorney probably, and they have to make a request, show up, and if they're granted a waiver, as we stand now, if they're granted a waiver, they also have to pay into the trust fund anyway. So even if they're granted a waiver, they still have to pay additional monies into this fund. Am I understanding this?
Sure. So what the requirement is that every applicant has to put in a sidewalk, right? They can apply for a waiver. If the board, planning or zoning grants the waiver, then what happens is this. Engineering department then calculates the reasonable approximate value of the sidewalk that was supposed to be installed, and then they have to put that amount into the sidewalk trust fund. So it's not like the money gets waived too. The waiver is only that you don't have to put in the sidewalk, but now you got to pay us. So that's how the waiver works.
Okay. So, and I got to say, I'm damn proud of this council in the past waiving fees. We waived fees multiple times on this board. And this is an opportunity, in my opinion, to waive additional fees in a time where I believe we need it the most.
All right. Well,
And I just want to make sure I get that, Joe, that is in fact accurate, that they get the waiver, they get the approval for the waiver, and then they have to pay into almost a penalty into the fund, even though they got the waiver.
Well, they have to pay into the fund, yeah.
Right.
So if
Okay.
they get the waiver, whereas the new ordinance, if they get the waiver, and it's going to be very difficult to get a waiver. So let me just be clear about that. It'll be difficult for a homeowner, it'll be difficult for a business. Businesses almost never get them under any circumstance. But if a homeowner were to get one, or a business were to get one, then they wouldn't have to pay into the sidewalk fund. The waiver would be a true waiver. Based on the circumstances you've set out before the board, we don't think you need to put in a sidewalk, and as a result, you're not going to have to put up that money.
Okay. And just one more thing, Deputy
So
Mayor.
they're not paying back into the fund?
This is saying they don't have to pay back into
I'm
the fund.
sorry.
Right, so if we eliminate the sidewalk trust fund, the ordinance as is worded, they can still get a waiver, and then there's gonna be no there's gonna be no payment into any trust fund, they just get a waiver.
And Deputy Mayor, I didn't get a chance to watch that planning board meeting, but was there any commentary, anything put on the record, any objection to this, this issue?
No,
It was voted on,
It
correct?
was
The
unanimous.
vote, the planning board unanimously agreed with the idea of waiving it.
Was there any commentary, any discussion put on the record, any objections?
I honestly don't remember all the discussion, I have to be honest, because I also watched that meeting, I was not present.
I didn't see it, so I don't know.
I went, I also spoke to the chief of police, who, again, said to me, Evelyn, this was my idea, I think that this should be removed. And so not only was it brought to me by the planning board, but then I also followed through with speaking with the chief himself.
In light of the circumstances, here, I'd recommend that we unanimously waive this additional fee.
I mean, this is a second reading.
Yeah, may I? Brian, so this fund, that, what is it being called? The sidewalk fund, trust fund? This is a separate line item, right? What is there, about 13,000 in there? Joe, do you know how much is in there?
It's somewhere
about
between
13,
13 and
right?
16, there's been two waivers.
There's been two waivers for like $8,000, right? So,
One for 8 and one for like 5 or so.
okay, and that's from residential.
I think one of them may actually have been a commercial, but I just don't recall. And if
Okay.
it was a de minimis amount, relatively speaking. In fact, they may have been both commercial.
So my
or both
question is-
residential.
When that money goes into that fund, what do we do with it?
You use it across the town.
For
Right.
whatever we want. We can.
Oh, well-
That's why I
just-
like it.
Yeah.
The
No.
the sidewalk fund is supposed to go towards sidewalks.
Correct, that's why I want it, so it's a sidewalk fund, but it could be allocated and appropriated elsewhere, correct?
Right.
So we're pretty much nickel and diming our residents, taxing them and all this good stuff, right? So by waiving this, we're kind of giving them a little bit of a reprieve, yes?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear, that's all, thank
The
you.
sidewalk, let me just say, I don't know that I've said this, and I think it should be in the record. The sidewalk money was supposed to be used to, I was told by land use, to repair sidewalks.
Correct.
Now, we all know that if your sidewalk in front of your house, something happens. I just had a friend, a homeowner, who asked the town to pay for the sidewalk, and they wound up paying for it. So I'm not really exactly sure, to be honest with you, under what condition would a sidewalk
Warrant that.
be repaired by those monies. However, I just wanted to be certain that that's what I was told the intent was, to repair things around town.
Sidewalks.
Correct. That's what we were told a year ago. However, since then, we've found it's been an issue with private citizens and residents.
I'm ready to vote.
So Allison, I want to just ask you, because you're reading the whole title as well. So did you want me to read the title, or I'll just do the numbers and you read the title of the ordinance? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm reading it and then you're reading it. So did you want to just you read it?
Well,
Just, what do you want me to do?
I could just read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, we have ordinance 0.
I just need to take a roll call
Oh, we have-
for this one.
sorry.
Okay. Mr. Bonovich?
No.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No. Um, 0-20-13, 10.2. Ordinance number 0-20-13, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/9/20, and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/12/20 is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that the copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Land Use, Article 16, Residential Design Standards, Section 132, Sidewalks of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I would like to make a motion that the motion of ordinance number 0-2013 be finally passed and adopted, and that the notice of its passage and adoption be published in the July 17th, 2020 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
And again, I'll state for all of the reasons that I stated earlier on the first ordinance, and again, to remind council that the MLUL is a New Jersey statute law that protects the discussion and waivers for the planning board and the zoning board.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
No.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No. Ordinance 0-20-14, 10.3, amend Chapter 1, oh, sorry, Allison. Ordinance number 0-20-14, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/9/20, and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/12/20 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance. An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 180 invasive plants of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell.
May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that ordinance number 0-20-14 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 7/17/20 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
I will second that.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Is there any unfinished business?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Is there any information?
No, ma'am.
So the next meeting date is August 11th, 2020, executive session at 6:30 and regular session at 7:30. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll be happy to second.
Thank you.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes?
Mayor Berger?
Yes, ma'am.